For me, it was um, how do I describe? Other than I kind of lived my life with this uneasiness about some of Christ's teaching concerning possessions and money. Think of when he says, "Blessed are the poor" in Luke, and think of when he's confronting the rich young ruler, and he says, "Sell your possessions and give to the poor." John the Baptist, said, "Hey, if you have two tunics, give one to the guy who doesn't have any."
Hmm.
And I always knew those teachings and never was quite satisfied with how they worked themselves out in my life. Most people I would talk to would say, "Oh, well, that doesn't really apply to us anymore. That's not really what he meant."
Hmm.
And that never really sat well with me until this conversation and this new idea of living life with just the minimum. And as soon as we started doing it and going down that road and getting rid of stuff, we just fell into this new freedom and more time and energy and finances to do the things that God called us to do. And at that moment, I think all of those teachings started to make sense.
Hmm.
That I always used to see them as this test of faith. If I really love Christ enough, I'll get rid of my stuff. But instead started to see the other side of it. You know what? This was an invitation to a better way to live life,
Hmm.
and just like everything else he said, he knew the best way to do it, and it was a matter of finally understanding that and putting it into practice. The story goes, we were just basically living, your typical suburban lifestyle on a pastor's salary, but still collecting stuff and getting the biggest house that we could afford. And one Memorial Day, this had been 3.5 years ago, cleaning out the garage, just had a pile of stuff in the driveway as we were, pulling it all out and sweeping it and going to return everything well organized. Ran into my neighbor. My son was in the backyard wanting me to play catch, but I was telling him, no, I gotta clean the garage. And my neighbor just made the comment, my daughter's a minimalist, and she keeps telling me we don't need to own all this stuff. And immediately it was like a light bulb went on. I don't know how I never gave myself permission to intentionally own less, but it was like, yeah, that makes sense to me. And so started the website that night just to um, journal our story of downsizing and getting rid of. We never kept track officially, but we say about 60 to 70% of our possessions we got rid of over the course of the next few years.